much information as we can in the next hour. However, I do want to leave some time at the end for questions. So please write them down and feel free to ask as we get towards the end. Do you need more chairs?
There's a chair here.
There's one up here. There's one in the middle here, and it looks like there's a couple over here in the middle.
There's one back here.
Can I have a hand count here of ladies who are a first-time president going ahead for this term? Wow, okay. Well, thank you for taking on the challenge. And ladies who have already been president? Once? Twice? 3? 4 times? 5 times? And we keep going. Thank you for your service. Our incoming president, Dee Bell, asked me that I would read to you the mission statement before we got started with anything. So I'm just going to read this quickly to you. Because we really need to be mindful of what our goals are. In a spirit of service, not self, the mission of the American Legion Auxiliary is to support the American Legion and to honor the sacrifice of those who serve by enhancing the lives of our veterans, military, and their families, both home and abroad. For God and country, we advocate for veterans, educate our citizens, mentor youth, and promote patriotism, good citizenship, peace, and security. That is in the beginning of your unit guide, and you will be getting a new one. They're probably going to be ready sometime around the workshop, which is the 3rd weekend in July. If you come, they should be available there at this time, but you'll be getting the new one for this year. When we mention guide, it is for this year. In other words, some of you have the blue book. The blue book has got a lot of information with regards to programs and running elections, what have you. Most of what is in here has to do with the current officers. It does have our Constitution and bylaws in it for the department. It has all of the units and their voting strength by group. The quotas are here, and of course this would change every year when we get our new numbers. So this is really an annual book. The other, you got it?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that if I may. When Ann King Smith was president, I offered to put an index in the back of that because there are some questions that come up all the time and you can't think, oh, is that in section 1 or section 3? So if you go to the back of it, I hope they're going to continue that.
I would think they would.
Go to the back and then find, voting strength or quotas.
It's very, very important that we are good leaders. However, that just doesn't happen miraculously. We have to do a lot of reading. We have a lot of resource information for you. Not only this guide, the blue book, which has the poppy on the front, there's information in there. On the website, there's every form that you may need. There is information, everybody's Constitution and bylaws are there. So you can read the latest version that your unit has sent in. Make sure you keep it up to date. And it's very important because you are going to be the source of information for your members, for your chairman, for your officers. So I highly recommend when you leave this convention that you start doing quite a bit of reading so that you are familiar with what you need to do. Yes, ma'am?
Is that the ALA.org?
ALAFL.org.
Thank you.
Matter of fact, if you look it up, if you have a laptop with you or iPad right now, if you go to that, when you go back to your rooms or wherever, you will see a lot of information about this event this week and other information about upcoming events. installations are starting to show on the schedule. So it is an excellent, excellent form of communication with our members.
I have a question,
Yes.
Robin. When do they update the data that's on there? Like, is it after this installation?
As, the officers
Yes.
and the new chairman,
Right.
that is not going to happen until later on, because, just to let you know, after convention, the officers and chairmen do attend a boot camp, and we learn all the information that we're gonna do and bring it forth to all the members, our plan of action that we're going to have. So, program action plan is what it's called. And those chairmen and officers will present that at workshop. Workshop is the third weekend in July, and it's open to everyone. Most importantly, it's held for the chairman, because they are then going to present that information at the schools of instruction, which are within 45 days of the workshop. So it is vitally important that you encourage your members to go to your school of instruction, and if they can, to come to the workshop, because that, again, is for anyone who wants to attend. And again, this is primarily for the district chairman, so that they can present more information at these schools of instruction within the districts. But it is open to anyone who would like to come. We do have a social hour the night before, and you will learn a lot of new information at the workshop.
So the workshop is for the district.
I don't want to say it specifically, but mainly, those are the people who will benefit from it most, because they have to, and they are required to give a talk at School of Instruction about their committee or their position. That could be secretary, treasurer, and they are required to pass that information down to the units. Okay? So it is vitally important, those of you in the district that attend. Yes?
If I could add in something, Robin.
Sure.
I'm trying to not steal your
No,
thunder.
that's okay.
But from many years of experience, if you have a challenging member, someone who always wants to challenge what you've got to say, or a new member that seems interested and you're trying to push her into the water to get baptized, suggest that they come to the workshop, because it's easier for them sometimes to swallow
about the work that needs to be done for the committee, or they're going to speak about what the district has done for the year for that committee. So if you are picking chairman, please be very, very cautious. You need to have people just like yourself. You're willing, you're able, willing, and you're going to do the job. They need to do the job too, whether it's your unit chairman, or as I said, if you have district chairman, they need to be where they need to be.
Where do we find the information for these events?
Those are, well, the district meeting. And just because it's a district meeting doesn't mean only district people go. We are expecting that unit members are there, unit chairman, unit officers are there. It's a learning experience. And we want to offer you as many opportunities to learn as we can. And the district meetings are a good one to go to, because normally the district president, starting to do her visits and what have you, she usually has 3 or 4 district meetings a year, and she's getting feedback about what people want to learn. So at the district meeting, chances are she's going to bring up those issues, and you're going to leave with some new information. So it's important. We're not only part of the unit, we're part of the district, we're part of the department. So please don't feel that if it says district meeting, it means only the district people can come. That's not it at all. We want you all to come and ask questions and get new information.
Question.
Yes?
When you use the word unit chairman, are you making reference to the program
Yes.
chair?
Yes.
children and youth and
Yes.
education. Okay, thank you.
Okay, to be a good leader, as we said, you need to read. You need to take in the information that is provided by the department. In particular, please familiarize yourself with your fellows. If they haven't been updated, there are sample forms under the Constitution and Bylaws Committee on the website. And with the Constitution and Bylaws, a lot of it is boilerplate, and what I mean by that, it is the same for all of us. However, it's your standing rules that pertain just to your unit. So, your standing rules may be things like, so frankly, please be specific. Another one which is very important, how many of you have a little clause in your standing? In a pinch, the president can spend $100. Okay. Do you also have there that, by the way, at the next meeting, they need to have a reconciliation sheet, how much they spent, accompanied by what was remaining of the $100? Okay? Be specific, because let me say this, and I'll just play devil's advocate. Be specific. But if these things, these are just a couple of examples, and we can talk about others, but please be specific in your standing rules. I also experienced a unit, they had a sunshine fund for flowers, somebody in the hospital or whatever. And they were specific. And they said, husband, daughter, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, cousins, relatives. They were going to go broke buying flowers. So, you know, if you are a unit that is very conscious of every dime, surprise yourself with the programs that you have. Because, as I said, you are going to be the go-to person for your unit. They're going to be asking you questions about what can I do for my program. Well, you need to send them to the website because the program action plan is going to be there. However, you will be the one to answer those questions that they maybe can't find or germane strictly to your unit. So keep in mind, you've got to find the information. When you're being asked information, please do not guess. It's okay to say, you know what, I need to check that out. I may either refer to a guide, refer to the website, refer to a mentor. Hi. How are you? Come on in. Yeah, just sit right here for you.
We have time because you're late.
And it is wonderful. It is wonderful to think of someone in your unit or in your district or someone you can just get on the phone who can help you work through some of the things. Because you are going to, especially your new members, you're going to have a lot of questions. We understand that. But you need to be prepared, and if you don't have the answer, just don't guess. Find out what it is, and actually, when I do that, I'm jotting my notes down, and then what I do is I have a little notebook, and each of those notes I update, and it goes under the category, under the chairmanship, or maybe it's a protocol issue or a parliamentarian issue. Then I've got all my notes, because it may be something that never came up before. But that's the good thing about this organization. We have so many minds that we get all kinds of good ideas. So questions come along with that. The parliamentary procedures I mentioned briefly. It is an appointed position, but it is certainly recommended that when you hold your meetings, you have a parliamentarian. And the parliamentarian is someone who is seen and not heard. You may have seen this at other meetings. You may see it at convention. There is a person sitting to the right of the president, and there might be a little tug on the jacket, and it's a quiet note, maybe you forgot to introduce someone. Or, maybe it's a question that needed to be answered and the parliamentarian is trying to help. But seen and not heard, that means zip it. But that person should come equipped with the appropriate books, Robert's Rules, the guide, because if something comes up during the meeting, the president is going to be counting on that parliamentarian. A parliamentarian, someone you might want to think about, a past unit president, a past department president, a past district president, someone who has some experience and can find the answers rapidly, or they may know the answer because it may have come up before. Okay. Basically, ladies, a lot of people are confused about what the chores are for the president. And basically, you run the meeting. And guess what? You don't get a vote. In certain circumstances. You can break a tie, and you can vote if it's a paper ballot, like an election. Otherwise, the president is presenting issues, but she should not advocate for issues. I'll give you an example. There's a motion on the floor, there's a dinner coming up, and someone says, and I'm just kind of being facetious here because this is something that probably decisions should be made by your entertainment committee or whatever, but I think we should have pink placemats on the table. I motion for pink placemats, okay? You have a motion, someone seconds it, I second it, not the president, but say I second it. Now there's time for discussion. Now what comes up, the president feels very strongly that we should have blue placemats. So the president starts saying, well, I think we should have blue. Nope, nope, she cannot advocate from the podium. So, ladies, no matter how strong you feel, you are running the meeting. You are the director. So, if you feel strongly, here's what happens, and this doesn't happen frequently, but you need to have the right procedure. What you do is you hand off the gavel to the vice president. The vice president assumes the podium, and I go down here as president and say, you know, we had pink tablecloths last time, or placemats, and I think we should have blue, and I think we should stick with blue, and it's a great color, and la-da-da. Okay. If I want to advocate for that, I'm gone here. I am no longer in that position of running a meeting. I'm going to stay here until the vote is called for and the vote is done. Then when that's over, I'm going to come back and I'm going to take the gavel back, and the vice president is going to have her seat.
Well, the vice president's up there, she has no right to say anything as well, right?
Right.
As long as she has that gavel.
When she's there, she's assuming
The president's position.
the presiding officer position. So now she's taken over for me, and she's not advocating one way or the other. Yes,
Okay, so whoever has the gavel, if I hand it up to my first
Vice
or
President.
second, right,
mhm,
then they would not, but otherwise they would. When I'm holding the gavel as
they can
president,
speak.
They can
Yes.
speak and they can be
Yes.
interactive with that.
I also recommend, and I don't know, sometimes you have new members in your meeting. We have had a slew of new members come in, and their eyes are this big, and it's the first meeting they're at, and they're looking to see what kind of procedures go on, and we want them to make them comfortable. So here's what we try to do in our unit, and I just think it's good policy. If you stand up, when you're recognized, Robin Burk, Chairman of Children and Youth, and then you speak. Let people know who you are, what you do. Make them feel comfortable that they can come to you and ask a question. Being a good member or being a good leader, it's about uniting a unit and working together. And if people don't even know each other's names, it's very difficult to start making that connection. So please, be free with your name. I have to look at badges. But I do that because I feel like eventually I'll get it. Yes,
Can you call for a ballot vote whenever you want? Like if you want to vote, if you're the president?
there sometimes are times when there might be a contentious vote going on. Kathy, would you indicate that to do that, you would have the general membership vote on that, to have a ballot?
Contentious and without personalities. The issue needs to be contentious, okay? We went through that at National when they raised the dues, and there was debate back and forth about how much and whatever, so, but we've got, ladies, we've got to keep personalities out of it. There are more units, more problems come up. I could go on for hours about the personalities getting in. For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes.
Together, there's the clue, together,
So it
yes.
would only really be appropriate if you
An
thought.
election, you would do a paper ballot
Right.
if there was more than one candidate.
But if you thought it was gonna be a contentious after your discussion, you could.
Hopefully not.
But you
Hopefully
could.
not. I've been in this organization since 2005, and I've never been in in a meeting where a unit meeting where we had a paper ballot other than election. Yes?
This is kind of relevant to this, when you mentioned making a motion.
Mhm.
This year, our unit's gone back and forth from using somebody making a motion to making a move.
Yeah.
So which one is it, are we supposed to be
Okay.
making
Here's-
motion or motion?
Here's the thing. It's, I move. Now, you can say, I make a motion, but the proper way is, I move to.
I move to make a motion.
Okay? No, you don't have to say it both. It's just one or the other.
One-
It's either I move that we have the pink tablecloths or whatever. Right?
Some people say.
And I need to reiterate that again also, because I also spend some time on a UDNR committee, and we go around to help out units when maybe their membership is sagging, or they have some maybe auditing issues or whatever. And I look at minutes, and sometimes I go, because it's not proper. There's a motion, and then there's a second. The secretary does not have to record the name of the person who seconds it, just that it was seconded. Now, here's the big one. Discussion. Again, something might be contentious. So don't put yourself in a position that you're arguing with somebody to say, your time's up. Well, you didn't give me time. If you think it's contentious, at the beginning of the meeting, say, when anyone is speaking today, it is 2 minutes, and you will not be repeated back up again. So in other words, if somebody else has something to say on the subject, they can do it, but you're not gonna have 2 shots at it. You're not gonna have 2 bites of the apple, so to speak. So, keep in mind that you can limit the contention. You're in control. You've got the gavel. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why was it changed from I make a motion to I move? And when was it changed? I know this.
My mother was the grammatical expert of all time. I move, it's a verb. I'm doing something. It's like I move from here to here. I'm moving. I motion is like saying I buttercup.
Yeah, but
A motion is a noun. Make a motion is okay, but the proper way is I move to.
But for years and years, Robert's rules had it, I make a motion. So when did it change?
I don't know, but we've always done I move. But again, making a motion is okay, because that's grammatically correct. If you would like to say that. Yes?
Can the president advocate at an executive meeting?
The president also runs the executive committee meeting. Normally, it's more of a discussion on what you want to bring forward to the general membership, because keep in mind, the general membership needs to vote. Matter of fact, going into the year, they're gonna vote on a budget that runs all your activities for the year. If your budget is accepted by the general membership, you don't have to vote on anything having to do with money and for the whole year. But stuff comes up during the year, so you might want to give a donation to somebody or whatever. So somebody asked a question about that, and I got onto doing the budget. Okay, so first of all, makes life real easy, because otherwise you have to vote on everything.
But don't you have to have a budget anyway?
You need to have a budget, and if you don't, start working on it. And how you should do that, your treasurer is, could be helpful there, because she has all the records of what she's done. It's a good place. Start looking at what you did in the past, general membership, and you need to do it early in the year, because you don't want the year to get away from you, because then you're wasting time voting on things that, if it's all in the budget, then it's good.
But now you have to vote on it?
You have to vote on the budget, yes, with your general membership. And I know where that question came from. We were talking about the executive committee meeting.
Yeah.
Just a word of advice. We're all volunteers. We're freely giving our time. Don't burn them out. Okay? Example. We sit down in an executive committee and we talk about events we want to do. It's a 2-hour meeting. 15 minutes later, we walk into the general membership meeting and we have a 2-hour meeting and you're talking about the same thing. Don't burn out your members, because people are going to walk out of that meeting and go, oh my goodness, there's 4 hours in my life I'm never going to get back. So, think about it. That should be, your executive committee doesn't have to meet every month. If you have nothing to discuss, you'll have it settled in the budget, you're great. You don't have to have an executive committee meeting. However, those executive committee members, they're your right arm. They need to be helped, just not coming to a meeting and sitting down and saying, see you next month. You need those ladies, gentlemen, to be your other arms. They should have a committee. They should be part of fundraising. They should be sitting a membership table, whatever. They need to be part of it other than just sitting at an executive committee meeting. And I see people looking around. You have that, don't you? They come to an executive meeting and they sit down and then you don't see them again forever to the next meeting. You want to have them actively involved in your unit. Again, what did we say? We said together. And you need to depend on those people to help you out. Yes?
Executive board now, isn't that the officers plus 2 members?
It's all of the officers, and it's as many at-large members as your standing rules say. So, we have 3. It means that you elect them as an executive committee member. All the others are elected as officers, so they're part of the committee, but these 2 or 3 or whatever, how many you have, is actually, that's their title when they're running for an office. It's an executive committee member.
Is past president on the executive?
It depends on what your standing rules say. Is in some units like ours, the last president, the immediate past president, is what we call the ex officio member. It's by her title that she was past president that puts her on the committee. Now, she's not elected, and she's also not an at-large. She's just an additional member there, and hopefully that person would give you plenty of guidance. Yes?
I just wonder if it has to be in the standing rules, if your officer don't attend the meetings, can they be?
National has a different feeling about that.
Okay.
You can't say you gotta come to 3 meetings, or you can't have excuse, because frankly, there's no excused absences. So when your secretary is reading the roll call, there's no excuse. It's not excused absence. Maybe they called you and said, I can't make it tonight. Absent. That's all. It's not excused. It's absent.
There's no reason why a president should miss more than 1 or 2 meetings.
You all vote. You all vote. Now, let me give you a little tip though. Please, if you can, listen very closely when you get installed about what the duties of the vice presidents are. Basically, it's when you can't do it, they step in. Okay? So the second needs to be prepared to step into the first. If you've got a third, needs to maybe step into the second and up the ladder. So they need to be prepared. The charges say you will be there in the president's stead when she can't do it. Now, I shouldn't let this out, but I'm going to let this out. When I was president, towards the end of the year, there was a meeting that I would miss. Planned. Because I wanted that vice president to get some experience running a meeting. So I just said, I can't, and I call her and say, need to run the meeting on Monday. Oh, okay. So, ladies, tell your vice presidents to pay attention and read as much as they can about being the president.
Also include your vice presidents and stuff too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's not in stone, but many first vice presidents are membership chairs. Many second vice presidents are the event chairs. That's perfectly fine, whatever you want to call them. Why we are on that subject, your secretary. How many of you elect a secretary? And how many of you appoint?
Wow.
Okay. Let's just play devil's advocate for a minute. And we talked before about contention. How does a president who relies on a secretary gonna work out with someone who's elected and maybe they don't get along?
Not very well.
Sometimes, and I'm not dictating what you need to do, but most units appoint the secretary because it's done by the president, and she knows she can get along with that person. They work well together. As long as they're doing their job, sometimes that's a way, it's something to consider when you're reviewing your standing rules, whether you want that elected or appointed. It's in your standing rules, whether they're. It's stated in the bylaws, but it's, I think it says elected or appointed.
Yes, and then you have to say that in the standing.
You have to specify it, yes, yes, yes.
What's the minimum amount of officers
You have a meeting?
to have a unit? I mean, we only have 40 members to begin with. and
Okay.
only 3 people come to meetings.
All right, let's talk about the meeting situation. In your standing rules, it also says what kind of a quorum you have. What is the minimum number of members for you to have a business meeting? Now, if you get into that business meeting and you don't have enough, I wouldn't send people home. I would say, let's maybe talk about roundtable discussion about something, you just cannot vote on it. Now, if you can't make the quorum, all of you as a unit, in particular your membership chairman, needs to start building up the meetings. Do something that's going to attract them. Have a 50-50. Have food.
He's
A bottle of wine, just tell them they can't drink it that night. So, think about things to get people to meetings. Speak with the post at the canteen. They may donate 2 dinner tickets. You know, everybody goes to the post for dinner.
Drink card.
Yeah, it's a drink tokens, whatever. There's always something to attract. We had this in the first unit I was in. It was like a dwindling. And what we decided is we changed our date because people were saying, oh, you know, I can't come out at night. So we changed this to Saturday morning. We got more, and then we also offered them some. So we, you know, it was crazy. Then people were coming like, you know, out of the woodwork. They wanted to come to the meeting. But it's tough to get volunteers if you're not seeing them face to face. So the meeting is a great place where people can ask questions, etc. What are we looking at on time?
9:48.
Oh,
But what officers are mandatory is what I'm trying to get at. What do you have to have?
to run a unit,
That's what I was wondering.
you would need a president and you need a secretary. Treasurer doesn't have to be there.
So 2 officers.
And let me give you the example of how the secretary comes into play. Let's say the president doesn't show up. Basically what happens is the secretary is going to call for someone who is there to run the meeting for that evening or that day. And that is her important function. So that's what she does. And that's one of the reasons why you need a secretary there.
So those 2 officers, you can have a unit.
You can have a meeting, you may not be able to have business conducted.
But if we don't have a first vice and we don't have a historian and we don't have all.
Let's
these
get back
other-
to that question. Let's say you did, somebody ran for office and they don't show up. You can ask them to resign their position. They don't have to do that. However, if they're not showing up, you still need to get work done. So what you might want to consider is having someone just fill in and maybe give a report for that person or whatever,
Like an assistant.
like a committee member.
Yeah, but I think her question is, can she have a unit if she only has 1 or 2 people?
Your unit establishment is based on your membership.
That's what I think she's asking.
Well, we don't have a lot of officers, so I just want to know what we're mandated to have to be in compliance.
Okay, there's other things that also have to happen, because I've heard units like, oh, well, we're legal because we have 10 members. Okay. If you don't follow what you need to do, and this isn't necessarily the chore of the president, it could be assigned in your unit to the treasurer or the secretary, but there are always forms that have to go to department.
Right.
Your new officers, your new chairman, that's a requirement, it has to get done. You have to renew your IRS 990 form, which basically says you're a charitable organization. It has to go in every year. You have to contact the state of Florida for your corporation. You have to change the officers every year. It costs you $60, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And it is not optional to have the agricultural permit. You must have one. I know it's a 15-page form you have to fill out with your balance sheet and whatever, but it has to be done.
Cancel you out if you don't have it. If you don't
Well,
have it,
when the district president comes and she fills out the form, I have one here. The president, she's going to sit down with the president and she's going to check off and she's going to say, okay, do we have this from your unit, this from your unit, this from your unit? And if there's any district presidents here, I suggest you make copies of those and attach them. Because it's not like, okay,
over the phone, do you have this, do you have this? You can't do that. It needs to be in person, you need to see them. And frankly, if you are so inclined to keep a record, please attach them to that form after you fax it or send it into department. Because it's important that everybody has those documents. Now, if department sees that, okay, they don't have whatever it is, it's then the district president's responsibility to come to you, and she's gonna hound you for that until she gets it. If you don't, eventually, the department's gonna look at you that you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a unit. So, it kind of creates a serious position if you don't comply with those documents. Yes?
Where do I find those? The things that I have to do immediately, where do I find those?
Okay. Your district president will provide you that form, but it is on the website, and I believe it's under district documents.
District visitation.
Yes, it's the visitation. Yes, Kathy?
Robert, suggestion, having been a president of all over the place, ladies, get yourselves an agenda before your very first meeting.
My next
That's
topic,
your-
yes, yes.
And I don't know if you're gonna touch on it, but one thing it does, everybody gets a copy of it when they sign into the meeting. That saves a lot of chit chat.
Oh,
And,
yes.
oh, I forgot that so-and-so was such and such, but they have one that they can mark as you go through it.
Couple of things. The minutes need to be reviewed by everyone. Now, sometimes they're just stacked at the information table, and you can take one and read it right before the meeting. In our unit, we send them out, email. And I totally understand that some people don't have computers. However, ladies, if you have a friend who doesn't, please share the minutes with them if your unit decides that that's the way the correspondence is going to be sent out, because that saves a lot of time at the meetings too. And money. Okay, on the website you will find a document that says an agenda. And the agenda is a guide for you to run your meeting. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, well, in any event, it's on the website, and basically what you have to do is you are going to open your meeting. You know, 3 raps brings your meeting to attention, and 1 sits people down. If you need to get attention during the meeting, you can hit the gavel, and ladies, when you're in the audience, that means zip it. And that's just a signal like we need to move on, or we need to keep the conversation down. You might want to share with your sergeant at arms, because they're not allowed to touch anybody, but they may say, ladies, do you want to keep it down? And a polite way of doing that as president is say, ladies, we're having one meeting here. You're not dissing anyone. You're just bringing it to their attention that it's time to zip it, and we're going to move forward with the meeting. Okay. I may not have this in absolute order. I can't believe I had it right on top. Okay. Couple of important things, so we only have a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to just touch on the highlights. You need to open your meeting, and it's God, country, and auxiliary. So what do we mean? God, we're having an invocation. Country, we're doing the pledge. And American auxiliary, we're doing the preamble. If you have a pull down in your unit, please make sure you pull it down, and you make sure you pull down the auxiliary one and not the Legion one. The Legion one is one sentence different than ours, and people will get to the bottom and go, So make sure you pull the right one down. There'll be a roll call, and as I mentioned before, it's either present or absent. Okay? And the secretary reads the minutes. Now, here's with the minutes. If there is an adjustment, it can't be like, well, we really talked longer than whatever on a subject. It needs to be something that is erroneous that needs to be fixed. Like, the treasurer's report was given and there was a number transposed. That is a legitimate adjustment to the minutes. Otherwise, the minutes stand. This is the secretary going verbatim as the meeting is going on. So it's her record, and it's just accepted as read. You do not have to vote on that. If there's an adjustment, yes. Treasurer's report. Yeah, yes.
Can I ask just one little thing?
Sure.
If you have a secretary that has 3 or 4 pages in minutes.
Yes.
Or fidgeting and they don't want to do this, is it okay to have those minutes, the ones that are emailed out or available at the meetings, and do a book of motions and have her, after she reads the opening date meeting, who was present, officers, then read the motions and say that the.
I have not had that question come up, but that is a very good question, because I do know that some units do a book of motions, so that when something is accepted, it's written in the book, date, and whatever, if it's a monetary issue, it goes in there. And certainly that's a short way to have the minutes read. However, I will have to look into that, Ann, because I don't know the answer to that.
Roberts, I looked at Roberts, and Roberts does allow for that.
They do? Okay.
I'm just wasn't sure, do we need to put it in our standing rules that that's the way it's gonna happen, or?
Clarification is always good. So perhaps, yes, if you were to decide that that's the way it's going to be and it's in Robert's rules that way, then I would add that accordingly. One way to kind of head that off, I know, especially with a new secretary, she's going to want to write everything down. It's okay to say there was a discussion about X. If it didn't result in a vote, it was just a discussion. That's all it was. You don't have to say, you know, Susie said this and somebody else brought this up or whatever. No, a discussion. However, if it's a vote, don't say you had a discussion. If you had a vote, you had a vote. Because otherwise that thing is not legal, that whatever you voted on. You have to have a vote if it's not in your budget. Okay? Let me field some questions because I want you to get out of this as much as what you need to. So instead of going on, but please look on the website under President. There's documents there. Pick which ones you want. However, if you will please put your email address on the form in the back, I will get you the packet that I've made up to send to you.
Yes.
Okay? Yes, Kathy.
A little more detail, when I mentioned agenda, I have made up one that has the date, that has all the chairmen, the standard, open, clear,
Right.
All the chairmen are listed up top, so people can, oh, if I need to take me about this, I can do that.
That's a great idea.
Unfinished business, of just 1 or 2 sentences, a reminder, we still need to vote, or this is coming up, and then new business. And again, in 1 sentence, and it usually only takes 1 page. And that way, again,
It should only be about a page and a half. I mean, if you have an hour meeting.
Right.
And last comment, this comes up a lot. You don't have to go on until you get a vote. If you want to table an issue, it gets tabled. You vote to table it. Bring it up at the next meeting, or when you have more information, or whatever. And also, ladies, if somebody's like really incensed on an issue, and there's costs involved and whatever, it's a great idea to assign that person to come back at the next meeting with all the details that you need from them in order to make a vote.
In 2023-2024, our theme will be Bells in Service to our veterans, our active duty military families, our community, and our children and youth. And our color will be purple, because it's my favorite color. Bells have been used for centuries as a symbol of celebration, joy, triumph, and announcement. And this year, we will be using bells to celebrate you, your units, your programs, your fundraisers, your volunteering, your membership, and your accomplishments, and your service. In 2016, at the National Convention, the Woman of the Year was Major General Peggy Combs, and she spoke of service, her service, and the service of us in our organization. And this year, the word service has value and meaning to me and to each and every one of you. Service, selflessness, expectations, respect, values, ideals, commitment, and excellence. And I thank each and every one of you for your service in our organization. Now, I'd like to introduce Lisa Hoyland, our membership chairman for this year. As she said, my name is Lisa Hoyland, and I have been an auxiliary member since 2013 under the service of my father, and I'm honored to serve with in the coming year as her membership chairman. Every district will be, as you guessed, a different staff cell, so be on the lookout for that. And each member will be a clapper. The inside of the bell that is called a clapper, and it's going to take each one of us to make our bell ring loudly across the country so that we can do it again and reach 100% membership for this year. And so Sean, here in Florida, we will celebrate all of our members through song, and your membership goal dates are going to be represented by the bell flowers. So as membership grows across the state, our bell flowers will grow, and you'll look for those dates within the membership processing guide, along with the bells and whistles for our department events, and different reminders that will be coming out from National regarding membership. So I look forward to working with all of you next year. We do have some area chairmen in the room for upcoming year. If you can stand up real quick, I see two of you. I want to introduce Gail at the southern area and Teresa for Southwest. So if you're in their area, you'll be hearing from them. We're going to work together and do this again for 2023 to 2024. Thank you.